Hey everybody, and welcome to Meet the Team podcast. Yes, this is another episode, and I am Alicia Renea, and I'm glad to see that y'all just keep on coming back. So on this show, we have a special guest, and y'all know him, and I know y'all love him dearly. So I'm gonna let him go ahead and introduce himself. Go ahead and tell the people who he is.
Hello everybody, I'm Jay Shakur, reporter here at ABC 24 CW30.
Okay, hallelujah. This is going to be real good, y'all. So we always start off with a quote, and we detail it. So the quote that I have is, amateurs sit and wait for inspiration. The rest of us just get up and go to work. Stephen King. I'll read it again. Amateurs sit and wait for inspiration. The rest of us just get up and go to work. Stephen King. I probably said his name wrong the first time. Okay, so tell me how you feel about that quote.
Amateurs,
they sit and wait for inspiration.
Sit and wait for inspiration.
Yeah.
But the rest of us get up
and go to work.
And go to work.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a little harsh. I think it's a harsh truth.
Okay.
I know for me personally, up until 3 years ago, I was an amateur. And I decided, I don't want to sit in the classroom and theorize about journalism. I want to actually do it. And so I went right into it, local news, applying. The first job I got, first offer I got, I took it because I was just tired of sitting in the classroom theorizing about how to do it and what you should do and what you need to do and what you could do. And I just went out and wanted to do it. And I honestly learned more outside the classroom than I ever did sitting inside that classroom. Not that I'm not grateful for that. So that's a harsh truth.
Yeah. So when I pick a quote, I normally pick a quote that I feel like relates to the individual that's on the podcast.
Okay,
so
you pick that specifically
specifically for you.
Okay. I'm an amateur?
No, you're intense. You don't see it. The amateur part is just, by word, but I feel like just you as an individual, I don't think you wait for anyone to tell you what to do, how to do it, inspire you in any regard. I feel like if it's something that you want to do, you go out and do it and you get it done, and you don't wait for a pat on the back to get it done. So I definitely think this quote actually describes the individual that you are.
Okay, I can see that.
Yes. Yes. So let's jump right into it. What brought you specifically to ABC 24? Let's talk about your journey.
Okay, what brought me here? I was working in Shreveport, Louisiana, right near, Baton Rouge, New Orleans, all in that, closer to Dallas, northern Louisiana, and worked there. That was my first full-time TV job as a reporter. MMJ is what that company called it, MSJ, same thing. And worked there, night side, day turns, doing that. Didn't necessarily like the company for various reasons, so left that company. I was looking for more, wanted to be more creative, want to be more, and we use the term here a lot at ABC 24, solution-oriented. I didn't have the verbiage necessarily for it completely, but I knew just going, spraying a crime scene and doing the blood and gore of news, the day-to-day, every shooting, every ambulance, we're chasing it. That was not what I wanted to do all the time. And so from there, left there earlier than contract said, and started looking for other opportunities. Found this opportunity in Memphis. I had, in my peripheral, I had watched and paid attention to some Memphis news, but not really. Heard of Memphis, never been here, and applied, got a response back, great conversations with management, and that's how I ended up here.
Listen, so was New Orleans your first station? Your very first one?
Shreveport?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was my very first.
Louisiana.
It was my very first local news. Before that, I was in D.C. I went to school in D.C. I went to Howard University, of course, hence the shirt.
Right, the shirt, HU. Okay, all right, keep it cute.
I went to Howard University, and from there, Did undergrad, and then I went to grad school at Northwestern University. And the program there took me back to DC because my concentration, I was in a journalism master's program. My concentration took me back to DC as a political reporter. Concentration took me back to DC to report on Capitol Hill.
Oh.
So I was reporting on Capitol Hill the first year rather, of the Biden administration, right in the heat of COVID, 2021, when vaccines were available and all that stuff was available, but was not, still the pandemic was raging, and was on Capitol Hill doing stories, and the program had like media partners, so we had we would do stories, do packages, and they would be shopped out to different media partners, more privately owned media companies, local TV news companies, and they would air them in different cities and stuff. So I did that for a little bit, and then Shreveport came. That's when I was like, okay, I'm sitting in the classroom, I'm doing this. I get some fun with it, I get to do something, but it's not exactly what I want to do. It's more like a bureau there. And so that's when I said, okay, I'm just going to apply for a local news job and actually do it full time and not part time. And that's how I ended up in Shreveport.
Wow.
Yeah.
Listen, it sounded like you were freelancing before you could even say that's the type of job that you was doing.
Kind of, I wasn't getting paid for it.
Really?
No.
Because you was in school?
Yeah, I wasn't getting paid for it. Because I've done every medium. So I've interned at a radio station. Howard has a radio station. And Howard owns its own TV station. So I interned there both. So I did the radio, helped produce a show with one of the hosts and anchors for that radio station.
Okay.
WHUR, I believe is the call letters. I can't remember, but that sounds right. And so I did. I interned there, so did radio, did reporting there. Helped build that show out from the production standpoint. Worked in cable news for a little bit as a producer intern, intern to the producers, or however you want to phrase it, and did all of that in DC.
Wow.
Cable news was hectic. It was right during the Trump impeachment thing, so cable news was lit up with all of that, and so did that. Then did radio. Was kind of doing both at the same time. Did public TV because it was a PBS station that Howard owns, and so did that for a little bit, and then got into the bureau reporting that I was kind of freelancing, but not getting paid for it at all. And then got into local news.
Yeah. So let's kind of talk about that for a little bit. How did you feel like, during the COVID era, so to speak, reporting and being out there, did your desire, obviously it did, but did it intensify, and how did it intensify? Because you got a little taste of the impeachment with Trump, and then a little taste of COVID, and then reporting on Capitol Hill, you was in D.C. People dream to be there. How was that for you?
It was interesting, because you see these people growing up, because all our politicians are old, so they've been there forever. They were there since my mother was a kid, and so you see them on TV growing up, and then you're actually in their face, having to ask them questions and approach them. And so at first it's surreal, wow, I'm really here, right? And then get over it, and you're like, okay, I have a job to do, or I'm trying to learn how to better do my job, and I got to get over what civilians, if you want to call us that, typically think of politicians as celebrities. They're not. They work for us. And so you have to think from that lens. And during COVID and Trump and all of that stuff, you really learn that news or reporting or journalism is very important to people. How they get it is different, I probably shouldn't say this, but broadcast is not the main source all the time for people.
And that's the truth.
So it's important to them, but it's important in a different way, right? And so that's what you really get from that. Also, though, being in DC, you can kind of get in a bubble, right? All your friends are typically reporters or something to do with politics or media, and then you forget, other parts of the country and how they're impacted. You can. And so part of what I tried to do in some of the storytelling I did there. I wouldn't say it was the best storytelling. I was still learning.
Yeah.
I still learn to this day. You know, never stop learning. But you try to connect what's going on in D.C. to someone in Indiana, or to someone on the west side of Chicago who may never ever step foot in D.C., but you did.
Wow.
And so that's what really I tried to focus on during COVID. What was the White House saying? What was politicians on Capitol Hill saying? And how could I make that relatable and understandable to the regular everyday person?
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up, because I think that's something that we really never pay attention to, especially if we're doing local news, obviously. But I was talking to one of my friends who is a reporter, and she basically was like, where I am, she was talking about kind of poverty and how our stories are different between race and economic values and things like that. So why is it important for us to not only talk about what's happening locally, but to talk about it nationally and relate the two? Like, if you're a reporter, and I aspire to be that, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people will as well, why is it so important to give other people a voice? She talked about how there are Black disparities in our community, and we have a lot of things that we're not able to, or a lot of people don't have a lot of resources and opportunities, let's say that. But however, in a white race, maybe, just to be honest, they may have a little bit more opportunities and ways to be able to become a better version of themselves, So why is it important as a reporter to be able to tell someone else's story who can't actually tell that story, and then be able to gain those opportunities and resources? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I think when I first started, I knew I was going to do journalism, right? I knew I want to tell stories since 9 years old, but I didn't know how, right?
Yeah.
It started with theater. It started, did theater for a minute. Then I thought, it'd be film. Okay, maybe film. And then I ended up in journalism, right?
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that really pushed me, or that energized me at the beginning, was I'm going to butcher the quote, but it was something from Oprah where she said, during her talk show, whatever, she saw herself as a surrogate for the audience, right?
Wow.
And you know what a surrogate is, surrogate mother. And so I see myself as that to this day, a surrogate for the audience, whether they get me or they watch our newscasts on broadcast TV, Channel 24, 30, or they get it on YouTube, or they get it on our Instagram or Facebook, or wherever they get it, Twitter, X, whatever it's called. Wherever they get it, I'm surrogate for the audience. In my reporting, I'm there because they can't be there, right?
Wow.
I'm there to ask Mayor Paul Young the question that they probably want to ask, probably have been dying to ask, probably don't even know how to ask. I'm there to ask that question for them. Any politician, any person. And I'm there to help share their story. And so seeing myself as a surrogate, understanding that, and I try to allow a lot of my stories, let the sound drive the story, and not necessarily me tracking or what, my voice doing it, but let the sound drive the story. A lot of shots, a lot of that within that is because I see myself as a surrogate for the audience. And that's important because people make decisions off of what they know, right? The more a person knows, the better the decision they can make. Sometimes that decision may not be something you agree with, but it's not my job or role to agree with your decision. My job and role is to give you as much information as possible, as accurately as possible, for you to make a decision for your life that you feel is best for you.
Right.
And so that's why it's important. Given those people, I cover a lot of stories here in Memphis in particular, in disenfranchised communities that are impoverished. They don't have a lot of resources, or they have the resources there, but they haven't connected the dots to access those resources. And one of the things that makes my day, or I could be having a horrible day, but that makes it worth it, I should say, is when they say thank you for coming.
Wow.
And Boxtown, Westwood, covering stories out there, they have issues with Wi-Fi, internet, basic stuff that I use every day and don't ever really have issues with. It's rare I have issues with it. They have issues with the electricity. They have issues with grocery stores and getting access to healthy foods. And so being able to amplify that, as a surrogate, I give information. I'm there as a stand-in for the people that can't be there, asking the questions that they want asked. But also, I shine a light on it, right? If I turn on a light and I say, this is happening, what are you gonna do about it? This is what these people feel, what do you think about it?
Yeah.
And then in that you're connecting people, right? Because people in Westwood maybe have some of the same issues that people in Raleigh, Fraser are having. Different forms, maybe to a different degree, but they say, okay, someone out there is like me. And that's literally ultimately the goal.
Yeah.
To say, hey, we all are more alike than we are different.
Yeah.
So,
Listen, you preaching to the choir, Pastor. So talking about, you impacting the community, how has doing your job now impacted you? How has it changed you? You've been wanting to, I guess, be a journalist or speak, be on camera, do something with the camera, since you was 9 years old. So how has that influenced you, impacted you, and just changed you as a person?
I would say it's caused me to be more grateful.
That's good.
I am, I think I'm blessed to be in the position that I am, at the age that I am, being who I am.
Okay.
That has caused me to be more grateful every day, right? You can come in and cover some of the most horrific stuff.
Yeah.
Stuff that, makes you literally sick to your stomach. Or you meet people at their worst, and they just lost this loved one, or they just experienced this, or they just witnessed that. And you go home, and I go home, and I have, food to eat, and a roof over my head, and when it's not a storm and MLGW not acting up, I have power. And all that stuff, right? I have all the necessities to live. I'm living comfortably. It's caused me to be more grateful. Before doing local news, I was a bratty college kid who went to Howard University, took pride in that, and I had a reason to, because I come from the west side of Chicago, right? I come from the hood. I don't come from a nice, beautiful, manicured suburb. I come from the west side of Chicago, shooting outside my door, family members selling drugs. I come from all that stuff. And so I had reason to have pride in it, but doing it, having accomplished, quote unquote, whatever that means, and being where I am, it's caused me to be more grateful. So that's what's changed the most about me, the level of gratitude that I have internally.
Yeah. So how has your job impacted, I guess, how your family communicates or sees you? Or, because sometimes we could take jobs and our jobs kind of can be consuming and we don't really get a chance to spend time with family, or they feel like, well, maybe we need to spend a little bit more time. You're doing stories on somebody dying and all that. Like, how has it impacted your family?
That's a good question. I think I go home once a year. I don't go home often, which is not something I like, right?
Yeah.
I don't get holidays off really, maybe one, depends on the year. It's impacted that. Like every Thanksgiving, I'm in the kitchen cooking with my mama, right? I don't get that every year anymore. And so we try to make it happen at some point, or when I do get the chance to go home, be it my birthday, Christmas, whatever, if I can go home, I try to replicate some of those traditions. So that has changed completely. That has, really made me consider, what really matters. I'm of the opinion that nothing matters but family and those who love you. And their opinions matter the most to me. I don't care what a stranger says or what people that I don't care about matter, but their opinion matters to me the most. So that's changed in terms of seeing my family every day, my mother, my sister, and my friends, especially back in Chicago, like family. So that has changed. It's made me appreciative of that, right during the transition of, doing this full time, right before I was finishing college and all that stuff, my grandmother died, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she was big in my life,
Right.
like huge in my life. She died 3 weeks before her 100th birthday, and I even then, not doing this full time, but even then, being away in college, studying to do this, I felt a bit of guilt because I wasn't there in the last moments, right? And so it's changed. That dynamic of it has changed because the nature of what we do, whether you're at home or not, some way calls you to travel, to move every 2-3 years, which is a lot, can be a lot, and it forces you to really think, what do I want to do long term? So, yeah.
Yeah, so let's dig into that a little bit. You already know the place I'm going, okay?
Okay.
So, because I wanted to ask if it's that strenuous, on your relationship with your mom. Sounds like y'all are really close, cooking in the kitchen. Everybody don't cook in the kitchen today, mama. I said, my mama go ahead, fix the food, I come in there and eat it, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, everybody doesn't have that close-knit relationship. So, what is it that you want to do futuristically? Like, what is the main goal? Do you want to be in news forever, or do you want the Jay Shakur show?
I would love the Jay Shakur show.
I bet,
like
yeah.
yesterday.
Yeah.
But it takes, you got to pay your dues. I understand that. I used to didn't believe in paying your dues because I think, I paid all my dues and all these student loans and stuff, so that's enough dues. But to an extent, you have to pay your dues, so I get that. Patience, is everything. My father always tells me, don't be in a rush to get to a place you want to stay. And so,
Oh my God.
yeah, and so I keep that in mind when I say, you probably should be here, or you probably should want that. So that's in the back of my mind. That's the context for my quote unquote long-term goals. Never be in a rush to get to a place where you want to stay. And so that's the foundation. But long term, ideally, I want to move more into lifestyle stuff.
I can see that.
Instead of the hard news, 6 people shot, stuff like that. That's important. That has its place. But I want to go deeper than a minute and 15 seconds or a minute 30-second story, and talk more to real people, platform real people, and stuff like that. So that's long term. What form that will take in this modern era of whatever, I don't know, but that's the long term goal, to do deeper, more long form storytelling.
Yeah. I mean, your daddy hit the nail on the head with the hammer? Like, I made it longer than what it is, but listen, because we always talk about where it is that we want to go, right? Like, I want to go there. Like, I need to hurry up and get there, and we're not grateful. We're not appreciative. We don't really think about the moments that we have. Like, it's the journey that matters, and I feel like I say this, if not on every podcast, to just about everybody I meet, like, it's the journey. And sometimes we're so fixated on, I need to make it to the goal. I need to make it to the goal. And it's like, the goal gonna be there, but who are you gonna become in the process? What are you going to learn in the process? What do you gain through that? And I think that is, dynamic, because not everybody is grateful. So then when they make it to the goal, it's kind of like, well, I put my whole identity in this. I put my whole everything into this, and it really isn't what I thought it was. So why is your journey so important? Like, from 9 years old, even from birth, till now, like, your journey has been up and down and very different, but why is it so important for you to trust your journey?
I would say at the end of the day, however long your life is, you're not gonna care about, the company you work for. And I think I work for a great company, don't get me wrong. You're not gonna care about any of that. You're gonna care about those who you love, those who are around you. And so I think the journey is important because, like you said, who you become. The whole point of life is to become. Hopefully it's a good person that contributes to society, that has morals, that has a family, etc. But the whole point of life existing is to become. We are human beings, not human doings. So we don't just do, I think we get caught in the grind of I gotta make this. By this age, I gotta have this, make this amount of money. And by this age, I need to be married. And by this, no.
Come on now.
That's a part of it. But we are human beings. And how do we be? We be, or we become, or we allow ourselves to be human beings by becoming, I should say. And the journey's important because of, the wisdom gained, the lessons learned, even the mistakes made, because it all is all playing into you becoming whoever you were created to be. And so there were times I wanted to rush it, and
absolutely, me all the time,
and apply for positions I know dang old well I'm not qualified or ready for. But sometimes it takes that, denial or
rejection.
that not getting that call back or not getting that response back or getting that email. We've decided to go with more qualified candidates. And it takes that, it takes that
humble
to say, okay, this is not for me right now. And being able to be in that place will, I think, definitely humble you. I think part of becoming, and everybody has an ego, part of becoming is allowing yourself to learn how to control, minimize your ego. Everybody has an ego. It's just a matter of which people or, who has decided to not serve their ego, but let their ego serve them.
Ooh.
So.
All right, Jay with the nuggets. Okay. Golly. Okay, so my next question is, in this industry, what has been the best, I'm talking about the best, most memorable moment? Like, what has been like, this is why I do my job?
The most memorable moment?
Yes, the most memorable moment.
That's hard.
Well, that's good.
That made me say, oh, this is why I do my job?
Yeah, like I love my job.
That is a very hard question.
Wow.
I would say it was probably like almost a year ago, maybe like six to 8 months ago. We got an email here at ABC 24 from a woman, I believe it was in North Memphis. I'm still learning neighborhoods, please.
It's okay.
So forgive me, I've been here 2 years. But you cover big city, and anyway. We had done tons of, when I first got here, we were doing reporting on it, about the sterilization services of Tennessee and pollution in disenfranchised communities.
Okay.
And I'd done a couple stories on it, the different developments. I think now it's shut down and closed down, and the EPA has come in with different guidelines and everything. But it caused pollution, and a lot of belief is that pollution, that chemical from this plant and others all across Memphis, particularly in this neighborhood, caused cancer. And a woman wrote into us, to the station. She wasn't picking a specific reporter or anchor or whatever. She just wrote to the station, really thanking us for doing the coverage and staying on top of the story, be it myself or other reporters here. We all did a story. And if you've been here at ABC 24 as a reporter, you've at least done one story on this issue. And I had done a couple. And I think they put it in story ideas. We have a chat, that we populate story ideas that anyone can grab and decide to pursue. And she made a comment that, I just wanted to say, she just basically wanted to thank us, and then she didn't want to be on camera. She didn't want to talk. She wasn't doing any of that. And I read the long email of her thanking us and how she had been diagnosed with several different types of cancers. And she was grateful that we even talked about this issue and stayed on this issue, in her view, more so than any other station.
Yeah.
And I responded to her just to say thank you. I called her, and she, walked me through the fact that she's had all these different types of cancer, and family had abandoned her, and she was divorced. But watching our newscast and watching us tell those stories, just the exposure about it, you know, going back to shedding light on something, she was grateful that we did that. She eventually ended up talking to me. I ended up doing a story with her. And I think it was about a class action lawsuit that was finally being brought against this company or whatever. And she was so grateful just to get that information. And that was one of the moments where I said, yeah, this is why I do this. This is what makes it matter. A woman that was alone, cancer, this is what made it matter. So that was one of the moments I'm like, yeah, this is why I do it. You know, you have all the other perks and the fun stuff, but that was really it.
Yeah. Listen, don't get teary-eyed over here. Sure. But, man, the impact, you know, being able to tell someone's story who doesn't have the resources to do so, like you talked about that, and you can just tell, like, it was genuine, you know, and it's authentic. And people love that. You know, they want to be able to know that the people on TV, not just on TV to be on TV, they on TV because they're making impact and they're making a difference in the community. And so that's all that really matters. So we got a couple more minutes. Let's shift gears a little bit and lighten the mood. Got a little sad. But, okay, so day to day, we know you work out and go to the gym. We know you cook. What you told me the other day, you meal prep and all that.
I do.
So what does your day to day look like? You work day side, so you don't have to be up like
night
you
side.
do.
Yeah.
You work night side?
It switches, but I'm back to night side.
Oh my God. Okay, so your shift is all over the place.
Yeah.
How do you prepare? Because listen, I can't. How do you prepare your mind? How do you prepare yourself in general for an average day-to-day work day?
I try most days, if I don't write it down or I don't do it like physically write it down or type it out, I try most days to start with 1, 2, maybe 3 things I'm grateful for, right? And then from there, obviously I go to the gym, try to do an hour, 2 hours there.
Golly.
And so from there, I'm also working while I'm at the gym, kinda. Thinking of story ideas and reading the news and watching the news, which that's not necessarily work, but it's a part of what I need to do for work. Looking at national news, and maybe a national story can be localized. Obviously local news, and all of that. And so then I'm doing that probably on the Stairmaster treadmill or whatever, or sauna or whatever in the sauna. And then by, you know, and this is working night side. Day side is completely different. Day side I'm probably up like, if I work day side and I want to go to the gym, I'm probably up by 6:45. 6:45 the latest, you know, 6:15, 6:30 the earliest. But night side, this is probably what I'm doing. This is more so the night side thing when I come in at 1:30. Is, you know, by 11:45, 12, I kind of, in my head, have maybe a story idea. You have to have a pitch every day. You have to have a story ready every day. I pray to God for days when I'm assigned a story. But that's just the nature of the beast. That's just the job. And so by 11:45, 12, I have a story idea. I'm, you know, done with the gym, getting ready, getting, you know, dressed for work, send my pitches in, come in, pitch meeting, 2:15 every day, night side, 9:30 if it's day side, but 2:15 every day if it's night side, and go tackle that pitch meeting. And pray to God that, I guess I'm disclosing tricks of the trade, but every reporter has this, right? You have the story that you really want to do, that you know you can turn, that you know you got the people set up for, or you already shot the interview, you know, you got the story you want to do. Then you have another story that's a good story, but you'd rather not do it, at least not today, but you know you got to have at least 2 pitches, so you put it in there. We call that something else, but and so hoping to God they pick the one I want to do, and then go out and shoot it, edit it, put it together. So,
Well, you have a dynamic day.
For the most part.
I mean, it doesn't sound